Beloved friends, it is such a joy to be here with you today. I feel blessed to share my insights from the timeless wisdom of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. Today, we will explore the concept of vairagya, which is translated as renunciation or detachment. In the last two sutras, we spoke about abhyasa, which is the practice and discipline needed to cultivate our mind. Now, Patanjali introduces us to vairagya, the counterpart of that discipline. It is essential for the control of the mind. But what does vairagya really mean? Patanjali defines vairagya as the lack of desire for sensual pleasures. It's the ability to control our senses. Let's reflect on this for a moment. Most of our thoughts are triggered by our senses, the five senses of sight, touch, taste, sound, and smell. We live in a world filled with stimuli, and we often find ourselves on a relentless quest for pleasure through these senses. Think about it. When you see something beautiful, you want to hold on to that image. When you hear a sweet melody, you crave more of it. This continual seeking of pleasure creates a cycle of desire and disappointment. Much of our struggle comes from this pursuit of fleeting joys and avoiding uncomfortable sensations. But if we can cultivate a state of indifference to these sensory inputs, our lives can become much simpler. Now, let's be frank. Achieving this state of indifference is no easy feat. The journey begins with control. Before we can truly control our senses, we must first acknowledge them. We often find ourselves at the whim of our desires, dragged along by our senses as though we were helpless puppets. I remember a time when I found myself caught in this web of desires. I had just moved to the Himalayas. Surrounded by mesmerizing beauty, I thought I needed to capture every moment for my memory. However, I realized that my pursuits were leading me away from the silent joy that lay within. Instead of enjoying the moment, I began to control my impulse to chase the pleasing sights and sounds. I grounded myself in the now, letting go of my need to possess every experience. Patanjali encourages us not to glorify this indulgent state of living, where we simply fulfill all our desires. Instead, he urges us to strive for control. But let's be clear, control is not the same as suppression. Suppressing our desires does not address their underlying nature. Instead, it buries them, waiting to resurface with greater intensity later. We need to acknowledge our temptation to indulge. Awareness is key. I remember an enlightening moment with my master when he guided me during meditation. He told me, "Shaambhavee, whenever you see a craving, just pause and observe your thoughts. Observe the desire grow in strength, and then flutter helplessly. Watch the full cycle of the desire as it arises, roars in force, then struggles helplessly and finally dies away." This becomes a vital practice. When we recognize and understand our cravings, we can gently guide our minds back into balance. As we develop this awareness, we find that control becomes easier over time. It's like training a muscle. With practice, the mind starts to regain its strength against the power of the senses. This gradual process paves the way toward vairagya. Swami Vivekananda once spoke of detachment as the most important gift. He emphasized that true freedom lies not in the removal of pleasure but in our ability to remain unaffected by transient joys. A deep, abiding peace awaits us when we understand this principle. When we look at the teachings of Sri Ramakrishna Paramhamsa, we see the embodiment of this principle. He spoke about engaging with the world without being attached, much like a bee collects nectar without settling on the flower. The beauty of this analogy lies in its simplicity. We can enjoy the nectar of life without becoming entangled in the petals of desire. We must remind ourselves, both suppression and indulgence lead to turmoil. It's through understanding, awareness, and gentle control that we can cultivate true vairagya. As we embark on this inward journey, may we each strive to find that balance, letting go of our attachment to fleeting pleasures while nurturing the divine joy that resides within. Thank you for joining me on this path today. Let us meditate on these teachings and allow their wisdom to guide us in our daily lives.